Well, good morning, everyone. We are glad you're here. This is one of the most exciting Sundays of the year in my mind, where we get to hear from and share with all of the missionaries that we support, that we partner with around the globe. And thanks to technology, for the last several years, we've been able to share with a lot more. You know, it used to be really challenging. We get the Wheeler folks and the CareNet folks would come pretty regularly, but frankly, we didn't get to hear that often from the Sturies, who are in Africa, or from Sean Mohan, who's in India. So it's a real pleasure and a real treat to be able to hear from them today. So we're looking forward to that. First, I would like to thank the Missions Plan Group for all the work that they've put in to today, and I'm going to name them off and tell you a little bit about them. First, Steve Frazier. Steve, if you're listening, we're praying for you, buddy. Steve had a very serious health emergency this week, so he was really instrumental in getting the missionaries lined up to speak and come, so we miss him and pray for the best for him. Bonnie's here and helped a lot with the food and everything. You know, Bonnie helps with everything. And Bruce and Janice Rooks, they're great members of the Missions Plan Group. They are still testing positive for COVID, so they aren't going to be able to be here, but Bruce and Janice, we miss you and hope you come back soon. Kim Wade is here. Kim's been on the missions group for a long time. I can't see her right now, but where is she, Kim? Where are you? There you are. Okay, thank you. Abby Beasley is not going to be able to be here today, even to share, because she's busy at a retreat with InterVarsity, so she'll be busy with that, but she'll share with us at another time. Michelle Hammond is also on the Missions Plan Group, and Tim Bertram has joined us recently, so we're glad to have Tim as part of the group as well. And I think that's everybody. Did I miss anybody? Bonnie? I don't think so. Good. Thanks. Okay, so if you've been here before, you know what it's going to be like. We're just going to kind of keep going with the missionaries, and we're going to, one will be a Zoom, the next will come up and share with its person. So missionaries, if you're on Zoom, we'd love you to stay with us the whole time. If you can't, we understand that. We don't want to monopolize your time, but we certainly appreciate you making time for us in whatever time zone you happen to be in, so we appreciate that. First up, we have John and Vera Stury. John and Vera serve in Africa for World Gospel Mission, and they have been with us for many decades. And before that, the church supported John's dad, Ernie Stury, who ministered in Tenwick in Africa and Kenya. So John and Vera, we're looking forward to hearing from you, so go ahead. We're not getting your audio yet.
Can you hear us okay?
There we go.
All right. Hi, we're John and Vera Stury. We are sending you warm greetings this afternoon from Tenwick, where my mom and dad served for many years, and where all of our kids were born here in the country of Kenya. It's appropriate that we're sending our greetings to you from Tenwick Hospital because that's really sort of the epicenter of WGM's Africa region, over which we serve as regional directors. In fact, over half of our WGM missionaries serving in Africa are based at Tenwick. It's our largest concentration, as you can clearly see. So Vera and I made the 4-hour road trip to Tenwick from Nairobi, where we usually live today. It's almost 5 p.m. here, but we came to attend the opening of what they're calling the new Sue Stury building here at Tenwick Hospital. This is a building named after my mom. The original building was actually constructed and dedicated along with a twin building that was named in honor of my dad, the Ernie Stury building, back in 1997. In fact, in October, 25 years ago this month. However, there was a huge fire in the building, which was named after Mom, in February of 2018, that gutted one of the 2 stories of that building. And since then, they've done a massive redesign and rebuild of the building, adding 2 additional stories on top and facilities for some new services, including oncology and dialysis units for the first time at Tenwick Hospital. So tomorrow morning, we'll attend the opening and the dedication service, along with many of our WGM colleagues who live and serve here in Kenya. The Lord continues to do amazing things through Tenwick Hospital as hundreds of thousands of patients are treated here each year, and many medical professionals are also trained in a wide variety of training programs. Tenwick's motto for many years has been, "We treat, Jesus heals." And that's the spirit with which the missionaries continue to serve here. The future of healthcare in Kenya and other places in Africa is looking brighter, with many highly trained African doctors, clinical officers, nurses, and other medical professionals going out to serve in many other facilities around the country and the continent after receiving their training here at Tenwick, but also in other mission hospitals in Kenya. There's an even bigger construction project than the Susturi building that's taking place at Tenwick, and it's the construction of a cardiothoracic center, which will be the largest cardiac hospital in Kenya and the largest mission facility of its type in sub-Saharan Africa. Samaritan's Purse is partnering with Tenwick Hospital in this effort, and the center will be named after Billy Graham. So that's an exciting addition to the hospital here. Elsewhere in Kenya, we have missionaries serving in 2 other mission hospitals as well. One in Latane, just 25 miles from here, and another in Chogoria, which is on the slopes of Mount Kenya north of Nairobi. But all of them collaborate together in training medical professionals across these mission hospitals here in Kenya. We also have a team of missionaries, all of whom really just happen to be single women, who serve orphans and vulnerable children through a ministry called Least of These. The name, of course, comes from Matthew 25, where Jesus said, "As you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me." Our WGM missionaries minister to many orphaned and even abandoned children in quite a number of orphanages and abandoned children's homes in the cities of Nairobi and Nakuru, Kenya. We have 2 other missionaries who serve in Nairobi through a focus on education and mentoring African women. One of their colleagues, there was a third, one of their colleagues, a Nigerian woman who has been appointed as a WGM missionary recently, returned to her home country of Nigeria to continue serving the Lord through community development and the empowerment of rural women in northeastern Nigeria. That's an area of the world that we as Western missionaries would not even be able to travel into without the threat of being kidnapped or worse by the terrorist group known as Boko Haram. However, since she's a local, our missionary Patricia Ali blends right into the community and is able to serve the Lord there in the local language and culture. In Uganda, we have 4 families, 2 of them who have children on the field with them. One family serves in a printing ministry, and the wife in a baking ministry, which we all enjoy. And the husband, through the printing ministry, produces Christian printed materials for several churches and mission agencies across East and Central Africa. Some of his materials at times are the first Christian materials printed in languages of remote people groups in some of the countries here in East Africa. And then we have 2 families that serve at Heritage International School in Kampala, the capital of Uganda, and another couple who serve through University Discipleship Ministries or Movement, which ministers to university students, much as Campus Life or similar ministries like that would do throughout the world. And finally, we have one more medical doctor, and a lady who serves with a German mission hospital in a country in North Africa. And that is a brief overview of the WGM Africa team.
So we just wanted to thank you all for your many years of support, for your prayers. This past July marked 35 years. We arrived in Kenya. Woo! And we've been supported by you all for that whole time. So woohoo to you too.
Thank you so much for your prayers and support. We greatly appreciate all of you folks there in Franklin. Wish we could be sitting at the tables with you, but thanks for letting us join in this way. We will have to bow out after a while because someone has invited us for dinner in about well, in about an hour at 6 here. So good to be with you for a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John and Vera. It's a thrill to hear from you guys, and we love the African mission that you guys have. In 2004, Darren and I were able to travel to Africa and see Tenwick Hospital, and we actually saw the baby center in Nakuru under construction. So we love those ministries, and we love what they're doing there, and we thank you for the update. Next up, we're starting on World Renewal. We support 2 missionaries with World Renewal. Telly's last name is Moraes, and Dave Taylor. And we have great connections with them as well. We've supported Telly, I believe, for many decades as well. And Dave just went on the mission field probably about 5 or 8 years ago, but he was actually a member of this church for several years before he left for Brazil. So I know we're going to hear from Dave in a minute, but we're going to give Rachel Ferguson, who's their U.S. representative, a minute to tell us about World Renewal. And then do we have Telly on, Nate? Okay, but we are going to hear from Dave, right? Okay, very good. So Rachel, why don't you join us? You're probably going to need to use the mic.
I was like, I'm not sure. Hello, everyone. Is it on? Okay, that's good. I'm Rachel Ferguson. When I was 16 years old, I went to Brazil on a short-term mission trip with that guy back there and 50 other people, and met Telly Moraes, an amazing missionary. I had the privilege of meeting David Taylor around 2013, and then he started serving soon after that. My 2 daughters were born in Brazil. We lived in Brazil, but we came back in 2020. COVID changed many, many things, especially with missions. But I continued to serve as the World Renewal representative for Brazil in the United States. So World Renewal is in 51 different countries. Brazil is our biggest hub. I definitely have a bias towards Brazil, but we have lots of other countries doing lots of other really great things. And you can find out all about that at worldrenewal.org. I have to put the plug in there because I'm also the head of publications. So working faithfully to be a good witness of all of the stories that God is doing around the world through missions. It is not easy because he's doing so much all the time, and finding the right way to communicate that is really just the joy and pleasure of my life. So I just love getting to do that. I'm so excited that Dave will get to share with you guys. I got to go to Brazil this summer, leading a short-term missions trip, but I would be remiss not to invite you to come with us next summer. So the ministry in Brazil, over 20 missionaries. Dave Taylor is an awesome example of that. He'll tell you all of the exciting things that are going on. But the big thing this year was that we were able to purchase a 7-acre campground, and we have cultivated a relationship with the public schools in Brazil. And they have actually given us, I guess you would say, a blank check or an open opportunity to reach out to 26,000 public school students that are in that community that are close enough to get bused to this camp every single year. So the plan is, I've seen the math, it works, to get almost all of those kids in every year for a day of hearing about Jesus, playing soccer, of course, in Brazil, and swimming, and just a lot of other fun stuff. As we build up relationships and connect those kids then with local churches as well as chaplains that can work within those different public schools. So it's a really amazing network. David's a part of that. He'll share a bit of that with you. I don't know if Telly will be able to join us. I just pray that you guys would, I ask that you guys would keep Telly's wife, Heather, in your prayers. She has a rare autoimmune disease, and it has just been really, really difficult to deal with it. You can not cure it, you can treat it, but the treatment is almost as bad as not the treatment. So it's a balance of when do you take the steroids and when do you not. And it's just been very, very difficult for their whole family. So please keep them in your prayers. But Telly wanted me to extend to you guys, and I think Dave as well, he'll probably reiterate this, an invitation to come to Brazil. We love having visitors. Brazil is a great place to visit. If you've never gone abroad, it's a great place to visit if you have gone abroad. And because next year, World Renewal Brazil is celebrating 30 years of ministry. They've planted over 35 churches, and they're inviting all of those churches and all of the people who've been a part of that to converge on this 7-acre campground on July 1st. So July 1st is the big date, and so we're scheduling a trip before that sort of ends with July 1st, and then a different trip that comes in and starts with July 1st and then does ministry the week after. So if you're interested in any of that, you guys are officially invited by the director, Telly Moraes of Brazil, to come. He's like, get everyone. They all need to come. It's going to be a really awesome time. And if you know Telly, you know how he would say that. So just imagine that in your head. But all that information is at worldrenewal.org/trips. So you can sign up. I'll be helping with all the training. We can help with fundraising. All those kind of things I'll work with you guys on, and would love to see you guys there.
We're glad you're with us, so share with us what's going on with your ministry.
Good morning, Franklin Community Church. I am David Taylor, as they mentioned. I was doing some math earlier. I'm not the greatest with math, so excuse me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe it was 22 years ago I first met Pastor Telly at Franklin Community Church. I didn't have missions on my radar full time, but I did definitely want to go on a missions trip to Brazil. Some years later, I was able to go, and then I was offered an opportunity to serve here full time in ministry with martial arts, construction, and other means of service. As mentioned, Pastor Telly is not able to come this morning. He sent me a message right before it started. He said, unfortunately, with Heather's health, he's just not able to leave her. So please keep her in your prayers. It's been a difficult time for the family, a lot of adjustments, a lot of health issues, weighing on the family there. On the bright side, I was able to invite my assistant, who is my #1 translator. She spends probably somewhere between 25 to 30 hours a week with me, going back and forth with English to Portuguese, redrafting the Portuguese so that it makes sense in the common language. And, by the way, she's also my wife. So here she is, Ivana.
Hello.
And she was nervous because she speaks English fluently, but she gets a little nervous when there's something going to be like live streamed. So she requested that I don't have her talk too much. So I'll talk for her from this point on, because I'm a good husband. Just kidding. Okay, well, hopefully I am a good husband. But anyhow, I just want to introduce you to her. And if you come here to Brazil in person, you'll get to meet her. As Rachel mentioned, the ABA camp is already being used. I think it was just 3 or 4 weeks ago that the property was purchased. There's still $100,000 debt on it, but immediately the ministry started using it. The public school that she mentioned, the public schools in Pedalio, over 700 students came 2 weeks ago to the campus. Out of the 700 students, 37 of them made decisions for Christ. I had hundreds of those students as martial arts students during the camp outreach. 2 of the teachers told me that they've never seen anything like this, that they want to come back every time we have an outreach like this. Many of the students asked me, when am I going to go to their public school and teach martial arts? So it used to be that within my ministry, I would go and travel to the public schools, but now the public schools are coming to us. And 26,000 kids in the public schools are coming to a Christian ministry. I've never seen anything like it. I can't imagine more of an opportunity that we have today than what we have here in Brazil. Another highlight from the ABA camp. Last weekend was our midway for the Fight Club men's ministry. Fight Club started in Indiana. Currently, around 800 men from Indiana go to each round. We have 17 men in Brazil going through the third round of Fight Club Brazil. One of the men who went to the leadership retreat and the midway celebration, which was at the ABA camp, Ronaldo, he's 57 years old. He's a teacher at the international school. He's born and raised Catholic, but he's never gone into a deep relationship with Christ. Friday night during the leadership retreat, we had a fire going, and we surrounded it with chairs, and of course we had the night sky and the beautiful stars. And I noticed Ronaldo was deeply moved, but I didn't know how much. All week long, this week, he's been talking about how Fight Club has meant to him. On Thursday night at our weekly meeting, he said out of the 57 years of his life, as he put it, 57 years, he's never experienced God in that way before. He said, we need to have midway every week. We can't do that. But it's been life-changing and transforming in his life. Several of the men are passionate about Fight Club. Currently, we have 5 men that have been trained, and they're helping me lead it this round. We have 4 more men willing to go through the training process. So it's just taking off, and I'm looking forward to see what will happen there. The martial arts ministry is still going strong. With my car, I've been having some unreliability problems. So I can't go to Cristolandia, a men's recovery program, and I can't go to Jesus Transforma, which is another Christian men's recovery program, because the roads are too rough on our car. So that would be a prayer request as well. Been working on some of the issues, but it's just not reliable enough right now. So at the same time, we restarted the ambassador training. So we have people from different communities coming to train with me. And then hopefully by the end of the year, we'll start sending them back out to start up the martial arts classes in their local locations. And then I will kind of be more of an advisor and giving them direction. So a lot of things are happening here in Brazil, and I would love to see my Franklin Community Church family here in Brazil next year, as mentioned. And even if you can't make it in July, let's make it an obligation, or make it a time where we can celebrate together with what God's doing here in Brazil. Thank you so much for your time. And both of us, me and
Ivana,
want to thank you for our time together. All right, thank you.
Well, thanks, David. We really appreciate hearing from both Rachel and David about the ministry in Brazil. So we've gone from Africa to Brazil and heard what God is doing in those places and how those amazing things that we're a part of, that through our contributions and through our prayers, we're parts of those ministries. What a blessing it is. So now we're going to jump from Brazil up to the Caribbean, and we're going to be joined by John Martinez, who is with Go Ministries. And we've known John and his family since probably, when was the first one, 2008? First trip, I think, 2011 maybe, I can't remember. 6, thank you, couldn't count. So John, share with us what's going on there on the island of Hispaniola. Thanks.
Thanks, Keith. Well, first of all, we have to say thank you to the Franklin family. We are just so grateful for all the love that you give us and how you pray for us. It's so neat to always have people in touch with us, and knowing that we're being lifted up to the Lord is such a huge, huge part of what we do, and we're so, so grateful for that. So here is my wife, Ruth, and our little girl, Abigail, who's 4, and they join us in ministry as well. Join me in ministry as well. But I'm going to put the camera back on myself here for a moment. Okay. Well, There is lots going on here in the Dominican and Haiti. We work all around the island, but we have not been in Haiti recently because of all the challenges that are going on there. So we continue to work with the Haitian culture. In fact, we have developed in the last year 5 Haitian churches. So we've gone from 2 to 5, and we have really focused our ministry in the last year on disciple making. And we realized that we were in different areas working, but we weren't making disciples. So we have gone and changed our focus, and we are completely working disciple making, but utilizing different areas of ministry now to do that. So for instance, we have started a program to plant 1,000 churches in 10 years, and we started that now 4 years ago. And we started out with 38 churches, and we are now working in 154 locations. So that includes those Haitian churches. They are not all churches, but we are pretty confident that those will develop into churches at some point. And we are on target to reach that 1,000 churches. So we'll continue to do that. Our medical clinic continues to grow, and thanks so much for assisting with that. We know that there's wonderful people from Franklin who assist with that. We have gone from when the medical clinic opened 5 years ago, from about 25 patients a day to now we are at 60 patients a day, and we're doing 2 medical outreaches into different communities every month. I just participated in a medical outreach this past week where we visited with 160 patients in one day, and they all get free medicine and a free consultation with a doctor. So that is a good thing to hear when medical care is such a difficult thing. And I have to say kudos to our brother in Kenya who is doing fabulous things. That is encouraging with what's going on with medicine there. We just hired a labor and delivery nurse to start a prenatal program because we just purchased a sonograph machine. So in a country where 23% of the women have their first child before the age of 18 and don't get prenatal care, that is a big deal. And we're actually hosting our first prenatal care seminar this coming week. So we're going to be getting into all of that. We also have developed discipleship making through sports. We have 700 kids involved in our sports ministries, and things are going well there. Just as a fellow missionary said, in Brazil, soccer is everything there. Well, in Dominican Republic, baseball is everything. And we've got a huge baseball program going on, including working with the professional teams here in the Dominican, and a couple of major leaguers who have come in and are helping us out from the United States. One of the things that's exciting about our sports program is we've got over 250 girls involved with the sports program. So that ties right into heading off all of those young pregnancies here in the country. We are also building currently a women's volleyball court to go with the women's program, and so that's well underway and should be finished by February. One of the other things that we get to do here is work with teams. So this year we've had 38 teams come and help us do different projects along with the projects of the medical clinic. This week we also got to build some houses and build a foundation for a house this week. We also did some hurricane relief recently. So we put 8 roofs on houses up in the north of the country. And it's just such a satisfying thing to be able to see somebody without a roof on their house, and by the end of the day, they have a roof on their house, and they're not worried about what their house is going to be, where they're going to be sleeping anymore. They can get back into their house, so that's a cool thing. One of the things that I love about teams coming down, and we hope that Franklin will send a team down sometime soon, just as all the other missionaries would love, is that we get to have and see mutual transformation happen. So when people come from the United States, often people come down and think that they're going to be able to do a huge amount of work, and it's all about the Americans coming to help the Dominicans. But this week, we had a man come down, and in our debriefing times, he said, and I wrote this down, I have realized that this week, every area of my life has changed. And that's what we love to see. We love to see people's lives change. That man is going to go back, and he is going to do things very differently back where he comes from in Kentucky. And that's mutual transformation. When we work side by side with our brothers and sisters from all over the world, we get changed. And that's what missions is about. That's how God uses missions. So thank you so much again, Franklin, for helping us, supporting us, praying for us, and loving on us. We are so, so grateful to you all.
Thanks, John. It's great hearing from you and seeing your family. It's just a joy. And I would second what John said about mission trips aren't really about helping those on the field as much as it is about how much it changes us. Having been on a few myself, I would say that's absolutely the way things happen. You're changed more than the people that you visit. But it's great seeing those people and seeing other cultures and learning those things. So we'll look to see if we can do some kind of trip in the next year or two. Again, with COVID, we kind of got off that, but we hope to be able to do one in the next couple of years. So after going from Africa to Brazil to the Caribbean, we are going to stay in the Caribbean for just another bit. So we're going to have Lisa and Wilby join us. The Romaines started with Go Ministries, but split from them and are now with La Foi Ministries, where they minister in the Dominican, but to the Haitian community there, which is a significant part of that culture and community. So we'd love to hear what's going on with your ministry.
So I'm Lisa. This is my husband, Wilbert. We have. I don't like to talk. This is Gideon and Ruben are with us, and we have an older son, Carvin, who's actually deployed right now. So we started La Foi in 2000. It officially became a 501c3 in 2015. But we have 3 expanding, growing, busting at the seam churches right now. And our ministry is going well. We moved back stateside to fundraise for a community center. My husband was there with Ruben 2 weeks over the summer. We found land right where it needs to be. It's very difficult to find property for a reasonable amount of money within the Santiago district. If you go outside in the urban area, you can find land everywhere. But that's not where our churches are. And the community center is going to be for our churches. And so we wanted a central location for all of our churches to be able to go. Another important aspect of that is most of the Haitians travel by public car system. They don't own vehicles. And so we had to have land that was also on a public car route so that they didn't have to walk forever to get to the location. The property is about $170,000, and it is, how big?
That's 1,700
meters. 1,700 meters, which I think is a half of acre, if I'm not wrong. I could be wrong.
So pretty much 1 meter is become like $100. $100 per meter.
Per meter.
So you can have they sell it in the Dominican.
Right.
So.
And so we are here and we are fundraising. We're getting a campaign together to be able to purchase that land and to start. The community center will be a place, so kind of a history. Haitians are not seen as great people in the Dominican. And right now, your prayers are definitely appreciated. Haiti is in a really tragic state. That's probably the best way to put it. Haitians do not want to be there. Many people are being shot just because they're on the street. We, a few weeks ago, just rescued some missionaries that were stuck in Haiti, and they are now staying in our ministry house in the Dominican. And so it's not a happy place. And so that has also tightened security in the Dominican, because Haitians are fleeing across the border to find a safe area to live, and Dominicans don't want them there. And so Dominicans, and we just were talking about this last week, before they would have like a school bus, and they would fill that with Haitians that were illegal in the Dominican. They would usually announce in neighborhoods when immigration was coming through. They're not doing that any longer. And actually, the national police are also picking up Haitians, which we've never experienced at all. And so it's getting very difficult for Haitians to be in the Dominican, as it is in Haiti. And so we just pray that they are able to find relief sometime. Even with, let me say this, even with all of that happening, our churches are growing. And so that tells us that God is still moving. He is not dead. He has not given up on his people, and neither are we. And so we just want to encourage you guys to continue to give and to continue to reach out and pray. And my husband's going to share a little bit about something else that we're fundraising for, and give you an example of why.
Well, we talk about immigration, like the way Haitian going through what's happening with them in the Dominican. You know, I have people close, really close to me, even like some of our pastors. In Dominican, they give most Haitian who qualify, they give you a permanent work. Like they give you the card, you can able to find job, whatever, and walk in the street without having any issue with immigration. But it takes a lot of process. There are a lot of paperwork you have to prove to able to qualify for it. And there's some of them, they get expired. And because they expired, they can't find paperwork to renew it. They still get them, pick them up and send them back to Haiti. I was said 3-4 weeks ago, one of our pastors on the way to his working, and he got picked up, sent back to Haiti. And not only that, they give you the card. You can't do nothing with it. You can't go to the bank. You can't like for example, if I end up sending money to our pastors in Dominican for ministry, they can go to the to get the money out with the card. They need the passport with a visa in it. But most Haitian, really, they're not working able to have money to have a visa and the passport. A visa costs almost like $400 something for a year visa. So after they have the visa, they have to go to the border once a month to put a stamp in the passport. So it's really hard for them to do it. And like the border, like almost like 2.5 hours. So they like have to travel there, put this stamp, coming back once a month. So it's becoming really hard because most of the Haitian right now, because the immigration really, really hot in the street, they don't want to go in the street. Like even we have our 2 learning centers, they're like up and running again. Yesterday I was talking to one of our pastors. He said, you know, the families doesn't want to risk the life to come bring the kid to the school, because on the way home or even on the way take them to school, they can get picked up by immigration. So everybody pretty much living a life like hiding all the time. And even like before, on the weekend, the immigration wasn't in the street. But now it doesn't matter. Saturday, Sunday, every day they're in the street. So everybody living like a fear with fear all the time being in the street. You know, like we really, one of our like fundraising, trying to get some money for our pastors to get them legal with a residency. So when you have a residency, is you with your residency card, you can go everywhere. You can go to the bank. You can go any places without like people stopping you, asking you for ID. So it's like for them to start that residency is like gonna take starting cost. I said maybe $1,500 for each of them, and it's not only that, but they have their passport need to be vision. I would say, right? I mean like updates, yeah. So it's just like a lot of process for our Haitian community there, and again, we are so grateful because the Dominican government allowing us to do ministry in this country with the Haitian cross the border. You know, like I know all the countries, whatever, they belong to God. If God send you somewhere, He will always be with you. And not only God, you guys have been with us like for so many years with your prayers and support and stuff like that and love. We more than grateful for you all to this journey. And again, everybody asking you guys to come and see us. We're asking you too. And one other thing, like, one of the special thing, you guys go to Dominican, the Dominican community seeing you go working alongside Haitian who live in the Dominican, this is like help the Haitian pastors, Haitian leaders really high in the community. I have one of my pastors. We have team before come down. We went in the community painting peoples in the community, and they see him one of the leaders in the community, because they see people like you guys and supporting the community, come and visit them and see them and help in the community. And again, we're not only helping Haitian, our mission focusing on Haitian, but come up with helping. We're not only helping with the Haitian, we help Dominican community. We help fixing people's houses, painting people's houses, and doing any activities with kids in the community. We try bring them together. I know there's a lot of hate. I know there's a lot of like bad stuff happening between Haitian and Dominican. But our job, our mission is trying like to break that. And we can't do it without you guys. So, and that's why we want to thank you guys again for always being thinking with us. I know we're not there, but every second we get update everything happening down there. Yesterday we had a wedding. Like I think Saturday coming up, we're gonna have like I think 6 weddings one day. I will go ahead and post it on Facebook. You will see them. If you haven't laugh our page, go ahead and Facebook page and like our page, and you will get a lot of update. Because really, we can't come here every Sunday. I know you're not gonna have time for us, but if you like our page, you will see everything really happening. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, thank you for that great update. It's so good seeing you guys too. It's wonderful to be able to see you in person. So, Africa, Brazil, Caribbean. Now we're going to go to Alaska, and we're going to visit with David Joseph. We've been supporting the Josephs for many decades as well, as they've ministered in Alaska. And Angie and I had a special treat just last week. We got to see David in person. He was in town to unfortunately do a funeral, but we were able to see David in person. It's really good to see him and hear from him. So, and I'll make another point. It just occurred to me. The Sturries said it was 5 p.m. where they were when they were speaking. David, I think it's 5 a.m. where you are. Is that correct, or something along those lines?
That is correct.
All right. So we have gone halfway around the globe. So David, share with us. We look forward to hearing from you.
And it's still warm here at -5. It's kind of funny, all the people who are just in warm climates, and here we are in the dark and just the beginning of cold. But I just want to express my gratitude. I look out there and I see a lot of faces. Last year I was there and got to speak a little bit before the church and have a small group, and see some familiar faces there this morning. But thank you for allowing Marcy and I to join your mission conference. Marcy was up late last night. She's unavailable. She had a church function this morning that she was getting ready for, so she's still in bed, and that's okay. But anyway, just want to share with you a scripture verse. And 32 years ago, we were on staff at Community Church at Greenwood. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. My wife and I, we were ministering to the Greenwood community at CCG, and our soul was empty. It started beginning, really, something was stirring inside of us. And we would turn our chairs around and we'd look out in our backyard. And there was a scripture verse that captured us. And the scripture verse was from Ezekiel chapter 22, and it's verse 30. So I sought for a man among them who would make a wall and stand in the gap before me on behalf of the land, that I should not destroy it, but I found no one. We had been as summer missionaries in Alaska in the summers of 81 and 82, and we saw just the utter destruction of abuse issues all over the place. We saw the darkness, the demonic, so many things, and we just began to pray that God would call somebody to Alaska. And we were living a very comfortable life, and we had 2 small children. But the more we began to pray about that God would send someone to Alaska, we realized that we were the answer to that prayer, and that God was sending us. And so we resigned 32 years ago from CCG, started raising support, and from that time, your church has stood faithfully with us that entire time. And we're so grateful for your church, and that your ability to support us for that long. But honestly, we've been here 32 years, but I don't think we've ever been any more excited about ministry than we are right now. We planted one church called the Native Bible Church, and it was out on the river. We built a church, wrote the Constitution, the bylaws, grew the church, and then in 2017, we passed that church off to the native pastor, Harry Hafford, and his wife, Heather, a native man, and that church is doing very well. And then we were looking for, God, what do you have next for us? And we went back to Friendship Baptist Mission, which is the church that we were there for the summers of 81 and 82. And we walked in, and the church was completely dead. It was on a real decline. There were about 10 people there, and most of them, well, practically all of them, were over 70 years old. But we felt like maybe God was moving us there just to serve in some capacity. We weren't there very long, and the pastor resigned, and then they said to me, would you be our pastor? So it was a place that was not really, really desirable. It was in a very low-income, crime-ridden community. But the church we loved. We loved it from many, many years ago. And God just spoke to us and said, I want you to do that. I don't care what you want to do. This is what I want you to do. And so we went there, felt called, and we've been at Friendship Baptist Mission now for about 3.5 years. And the church has grown, and I've never been more excited about preaching. Our church is running about 80 people now, and for the first time, we have youth, we have children, and we are currently looking for a youth pastor to come and serve. So if anyone there in Franklin or the South Side and Johnson County feels called, read that verse. God may call you to come and serve in Alaska. And we're looking for someone to come and minister to our youth and our children but we're excited. I've been preaching a series on back in the 80s when I was at CCG. You may remember this, the series by Frank Peretti called This Present Darkness, Piercing the Darkness, excellent books. They're just fictional novels. But everything that Frank Peretti wrote about back in the mid 80s is now coming true in our culture. And it's amazing that, we used to see the darkness, we could see the darkness in Haiti, all the folks from Haiti and Dominican Republic, they can see that. It's pretty visible. We could see it in Somalia. We could see it in Africa clearly. But we could see it even in Alaska. And oftentimes when I come to Franklin, I talk about some of that darkness that keeps creeping in, some of those demonic forces and Satan's work. But we're seeing it now in America. And it's very clear that darkness is creeping in. So I've been preaching this series on this present darkness. And we've been daring to pull back that curtain, daring to see what is dark in our culture and calling it for what it is, and calling it out. And I would like to recommend a book if I could. The book is called, let's see if I can get that, We Will Not Be Silenced. And this is a book that Dr. David Jeremiah recommends. And he says, if I could put this book into the hands of every Christian in America, I would. And the author is Erwin Lutzer. We Will Not Be Silenced. And so we've been talking about the darkness that's creeping in. And as you talk about the darkness, some people say you can't do that because it's political. It's really not about political. It's about evil versus good. It's about dark versus light. It's about our beliefs that we are losing in our churches, losing in our country. And so I've been preaching this series, and one of the ways to prepare the people for that is that we've been talking about putting on the armor of God. We've been looking at Ephesians 6, that we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers that exist in this dark age. And so we've seen a tremendous response to that. We've had recently people being saved, people being baptized. We've recently had 3 younger people who have been meth addicts come to our church. They've received Christ. And I've never seen this happen before, ever. And they are radically changed. The meth addiction is over. They've been clean for 90 days. And it's a different day when you are baptizing people with ankle monitors in the water. And but we're just seeing an amazing thing happen in the Spirit moving, because we're calling out darkness that exists, and people are seeing it and they are responding. And I've just never ever been more excited to preach the gospel and seeing what God is doing and how God is stirring in the hearts of people, because they know it exists and they need hope and they need help and they need an answer, and Christ is the answer. And we offer up that glorious gospel every Sunday, just as your church does. So I guess in essence, we just want to thank you for supporting us all these years. It's always a treasure. It's always a treat to come and spend some time with you. And there is an email address that probably the church has there for me. If you want to write me or contact me or text me about any of these issues, just to show you how we have stepped into the darkness, the pastors of Fairbanks, Alaska have decided that we are going to take back our city. The darkness was creeping in, and so we decided that what we would do as pastors is that we would interview all the candidates who run for local offices, the school board candidates, the borough candidates, the mayor candidates, and we would ask them very, very pointed questions. And so we came up with what was called a value voter guide. And we'd put the picture of the person and all the questions about all these cultural issues, about critical race theory, about Planned Parenthood, about LGBTQ2, and you say that's political. It's not political. It's about our beliefs. And we want to elect people in our city that line up with our beliefs. not some offshoot beliefs. So we asked the question to all of those candidates, and we sent that very professional looking sheet and the responses to all the churches. The churches distributed those to 60 different churches and to 20 different organizations. So back in October on our local election, we won back our city. God used those little responses to elect a conservative mayor, a conservative borough, and we won 3 positions on the school board, put people there that are in line with how we believe. And so we just thank God for that. And we've decided to step into the darkness, to take a stand, and we will not be silenced anymore. And I pray that that'll be true for your community, because I know you're concerned. This cultural phenomenon that's overtaking our schools and overtaking our country, I know you're very concerned, but I know that churches are also afraid to step into the fray. And I would hope that your church steps into the fray and by all means begin to cover it with prayer. It needs prayer cover in order to win these battles. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me today.
Thanks, David. It's good to hear how the Lord is working there in the darkness. So from Alaska, we will now come back a little closer to home, and we will hear from Tammy Caldwell with Wheeler Missions. This church has supported Wheeler and actually a predecessor, not a predecessor, but a competitor maybe to Wheeler, and Lighthouse Mission, a partner, until Wheeler merged with Lighthouse and Lighthouse became Mission. But that's from the very beginning. Many of us who've been here for a long time will remember going downtown to the Lighthouse Mission and taking gifts to the men, and we still try to do that now with Wheeler, but they seem to come here more often. So anyway, Tammy, share with us what's going on with Wheeler.
All right. Well, thank you so much for inviting Wheeler Mission to be part of your missions conference. And more importantly, thank you, Franklin Community Church, for being part of what we are doing on a daily basis. Keith said that you guys have been supporting us for 35 years. That sounds like a running theme, that you guys are in it for the long haul with your mission teams. And we appreciate that so much because that is rare. So we're grateful for your financial support. We're also grateful for your physical donations. So I'm going to get Keith a list of the things we're collecting for Christmas for the guys, and hopefully you guys can work on filling those specific needs that we have. My name is Tammy Caldwell, and I'm the Volunteer Engagement Manager for Men's Services at Wheeler Mission. I wasn't scheduled to be here today. Dennis Tolles, who's been here with you before, was scheduled to be here, and his daughter is having a baby, so she had a baby so he rushed down to Mississippi, and so I stepped in and sent Keith a panicked, what? I'm speaking in the middle of his church service. I thought I was talking to a Sunday school service, so he eased my mind that it was going to be fine. So I'm speaking from notes today. But I schedule volunteers, individuals and groups for men's services. So if you want to come and serve at Wheeler Mission, I would be the one you would talk to. And we have a lady who does it for women's service, and we have another volunteer manager who does it for our store and donation center. But I can connect you with all those people. So many groups and people that I speak with don't realize that Wheeler Mission doesn't take any type of government funding. We don't take state money. We don't take federal money because we know that that comes with strings attached. And the first thing they're going to say is you have to take Jesus out of the equation, and we are not willing to do that. Wheeler Mission has been operating for 129 years, and God has provided, and people just open up their wallets and give. And so we are so thankful for those who care and those who give. Our annual budget is $15 million, which sounds like a lot of money because that is a lot of money. And what most people don't realize is that we have 11 different locations, and 8 of those operate 24/7. So there's the 8 locations that are actually housing people on a regular basis. So if you have a pie chart and you see that $15 million, 65% of that pie chart comes from people just like you, individuals that give, that they see the need and they want to give. And then out of that 65%, 84% of that people comes just from people, or 84% of that money comes just from people. And I love that so much because it means that our community believes in our cause, They believe in helping those who are less fortunate, and they also trust that we're going to do good work. And so I love that so much. And so we just thank you guys for being one of those partners that help feed into that 65%. Just a quick review of what we do at Wheeler Mission. We have emergency services. So that's what you think of when you think of a shelter. It's beds, it's food, it's clothing, it's medical care. It's those kind of individual personal needs that we meet. We have long-term programming. So those are for guys or women who decide they never want to be in this situation again. It's their kind of their path out of homelessness. And then we have residential long-term programming. Residential addiction recovery. So people commit to living with us while they're going through 9 months of addiction recovery. And then finally, the fourth area that Wheeler Mission works in is social enterprises. So we have a thrift store, we have a pallet shop, and then we have a candle making venture. It's called Restored Creations that our women participate in. And this is work therapy for them while they are with us. And so some of the measures of effectiveness in those four areas in 2021, that's our latest statistics. We're getting ready to, as the year ends, see what 2022 looks like. But in 2021, 160 men and women made commitments towards salvation, rededication, or baptism, and that's something to be celebrated. We served 318,112 meals in 2021, and we provided 268,493 nights of shelter. We serviced 10,832 unique men, women, and children over that year. 416 guests completed a long-term program. 325 guests moved to stable housing, and 235 gained employment and or income during the time they were with us. We had 42 men and women graduate from one of our addiction recovery programs, and our statistics show that 72% of our graduates are clean and sober 3 years after completing programming, and so we're super excited about that statistic. We provided 90,721 job training hours for men and women through our social enterprises. And, of course, I'm biased because I'm the volunteer manager, but one of my favorite statistics is 12,045 volunteer hours were served, and that saved Wheeler $342,000 in operation and staffing costs. So we love our volunteers. And finally, just to bring it a little closer to home, when I pulled the stats on Thursday when I was putting this together, we had slept 621 total guests in all of our locations on Thursday. So that's kind of what it looks like at Wheeler Mission right now. We're starting to gear up and starting to fill up. But from just those statistics, you can see that Wheeler Mission is a very busy place. We have lots of plates spinning and lots of things going, and we're meeting a lot of needs. But I'm here to remind you that each one of those statistics represents a life. I'm here to remind you that statistics don't measure how many smiles were given, how many laughs were had, how many hugs were given, or how many prayers. As you hear about Wheeler Mission, I'm sure you're seeing it on your Facebook, and you're getting flyers in the mail, and you're getting pleas for Thanksgiving and those kind of things. As you think about Wheeler Mission over the next few months, as the weather gets colder, I think about every day, whenever I'm getting ready to say, I'm so cold at home, and it's 72 degrees in my house and I'm so cold, I remember that there are people out there on the streets, and I bite my tongue. I don't say those words. But know that November 1st through March 31st is what we call winter contingency. And that's our busiest time of the year at the shelters, just because the weather's cold. And that's when there's no limit on the days you can stay. Typically at the men's shelter and the women's shelter, there's limits of how many days you can stay per month, because we don't want to be a crutch. We want you to use this as a stopping place and then move on to your next plan. But during that winter contingency, you can stay that whole entire time. And so it's very, very busy, and our staff gets very, very stressed. So just keep us in your prayers. Pray for our staff, pray for our guests, and pray that Jesus shows up in the lives of the people that we serve while we're here. So I thank you for your support. Thanks for being a faithful partner with Wheeler Mission, and know that I have a table set up back here in the back hallway, and I'll be there if you want to ask questions, if you want to get more information, or if you want to volunteer. So we'll be happy to have you.
Thank you, Tammy. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, Wheeler's long time. We love Wheeler's ministry, and I love that there's a volunteer coordinator, so we'll talk with you a little bit more later today. So we've been all over the Western Hemisphere, and now we're going to go to the Eastern Hemisphere and hear from Sham Mohan, who serves with India Youth for Christ in India. So Sham, share us what's going on there and how the Lord is moving in India.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
It's 8:45 p.m. It's evening, night. It's time for me to have my dinner. But I thought, let me give something to chew on from India. And am I audible enough? Because I'm having some technical issues. If you're audible enough, just say,
We can hear
okay,
you.
thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the FCC, the Franklin Community Church, for your passion and your patience to support us and help us. It is without you, I think our missions in India, and not only Youth for Christ, the other missions also, would not have seen presenting the gospel to the nation who claims to be, belongs to the 350 million god and goddesses. You know, let me tell you the challenge in India. The challenge in India, among 350 million god and goddesses, telling Jesus is the only God and Jesus is the only true God. Now, that's the biggest challenge. Your population of America, we have so many gods in India, but we speak only Jesus. Everybody speak the tomb and the graveyard. Recently, we had a friends coming and they happened to see Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is known a kind of a tomb built by one of the emperors called Shah Jahan. And it is the graveyard of expressing the love. But the challenge for us is we got the news and we got the story to tell. We also got the grave, but it is an empty grave. It's an empty grave. So I would like to thank each one of you. You may be finding difficult to understand my accent. I'll try my best to speak very slowly. And if you think that still you cannot understand my language, and don't blame me, you can blame Nate Bisley, so that he has asked me to speak. Thank you so much. India, I sent a report recently. We completed 75 years of ministry in India, Youth for Christ. 75 years, and we had that celebration. Physical gathering happened this month, 1 to 5, at the capital city called Delhi. We had 650 kids coming. Out of that 650 kids, 350 kids made their commitment. I do not know whether it's a first-time commitment, second-time commitment, but all that I could tell is they made a commitment. And we are thinking of a follow-up ministry. Recently, our friends were trying to find out what is the population of India. Very soon, India is going to be the #1 population. And we are now currently 1.3 billion population. 1.3 billion population. Next to China, we are the second. And after that, you would find very drastic statistics about other nations. But we are going through some of the challenges. The challenges like we cannot present direct message or a gospel to the kids anymore. And we had to think an alternative way of presenting the gospel. Of course, we do have some mission schools. They do allow us to present the gospel, take the Bible classes, and teach them and train them. But Central India and above North India, it is very, very, very difficult. It becomes a violation of the entire country, the country called Hindu country. So the federal government is trying all their level best to change the fundamental rights of minorities. I mean, the minorities, Christians called as minorities, and to change their fundamental rights. And it is a big challenge for us. So we seek God to give the wisdom to have indirect ministries. Now, engaging the community is what? An opportunity for us to minister and present the gospel in India. And the days would come that it would be very difficult to speak. And unless we got a proper license, that we cannot engage or exercise our ministries. But God has to give a wisdom. And being an Indian, having a deprived of our rights and freedom, it's a big torture. It's very difficult. We have 1.3 billion population, over 500 million kids that yet to hear the gospel. I'm sure there are so many missions are also engaged, preaching and teaching to the kids. It's not only Youth for Christ, but our challenge is how can we run towards these challenges, encounter these challenges, and the people who are disbelief with the idolatry, worshiping all the gods who are created by the mud, stone, and still with all the kind of lies and myths. Those who are in the darkness yet claim that they are worshiping a true God, and to tell them that is the real and true God, and we got the story to tell. And we need a lot of prayers, and we need your continued support. Please pray that we are at present 42 chapters. Each city has called us a 42 chapters. And we have 75 full-time workers. And we have 40 local staffs. And we are having 400 volunteers. Now we need enough funds so that we can recruit many volunteers and people to use them, present the gospel discreetly. We are not paying much, but at the same time, some Christian presence cities are able to raise their funds and give. But some places we do not have Christian presence at all. It's difficult to raise our funds there. At the same time, there is an immediate need and a deep need to present workers there. We have planned to reach young people, those who are poor and down, to help them. And we got the strategy now to not only help the young person in the school, we want to connect their parents also. And we want to connect their church also, so that Youth for Christ has an opportunity and the demand to do more. At the same time, we need a lot of supports. I'm really grateful to God and grateful to FCC, Franklin Community Church, that God would turn this church as a global church and global mission-minded church. Already you are doing it. It's just not the Franklin Community Church. It would come a day, a faith community church, and increase your faith to help us and support us. And pray for us. And as we are going through the challenges of the federal government, and we do not know what is certain for us for the guidelines and the rules that they are going to bring us. But one thing we are sure, we are called to take this cross in the midst of all the challenges, because one who called us, who has traveled before us, and is resurrected, and he has given the victory. And no weapon that formed against shall prosper, because we are living a victorious life. I may sound like a preachy, because it's a long time I never visited FCC. So that, take it up, and God would continue to bless you all. I'm sure if I was physically there, and I would have given an opportunity to ask me questions, surely you will have questions. I have my email ID, and if you feel free, write back to me if you have any questions, but I will choose to answer. And God bless you. Thank you so much and so much. Thank you very much for your partnership with us, for your support with us, for prayers with us, above all, your love.
Sham, thank you very much for that update. And one of the things I want you and all the missionaries to know is that part of every meeting that we have with the missions plan group is spent in prayer for those ministries, for you in India and for those in Africa and the Caribbean. And the more we know, the more specifically we can pray, we really appreciate it. So I really appreciate that update about the challenges that you're having there, and it'll help to inform our prayers. So thank you for that. So from India, we will come back even closer to home. This is a ministry that was actually birthed out of this church. Many of the founding members of this ministry came from our church. The first director was a member of our church for 20 years, or the first director for 20 years of the ministry. The director was a member of our church, Sherry Young. So in some ways, it's an old ministry for us. In some ways, it's new, though. Because CareNet recently merged with Clarity, and so the ministry is called Clarity now. So Leah Bennett is going to join us. She's actually local here from Franklin, so we're excited to hear from her about what's going on with the ministry to the unborn and for the unborn here in central Indiana. So.
Almost, midday. Can't say good morning anymore. But I just want to say it's just an honor and a privilege just to be here, not only to speak on behalf of Clarity, but just to hear how God is moving throughout the world. And I just thank you for that, just learning about that. We just serve a great God, and He is constantly moving. Well, my name is Leah Bennett. I am the new director here at Franklin. For Clarity Pregnancy Services of Central Indiana. We have had an exciting year of growth. With the merger, we are now in 8 counties that is southern to us. We have a great goal. We believe that every client matters that walks through our doors. No matter what they are thinking, they matter to us, because they matter to God. And we hope that they can feel the love, that they matter, so in return, they know that their unborn child matters as well. And we have 4 pillars of services that Clarity now offers. The first one is we deal with unplanned pregnancies. A lot of our clients come in with a fear factor. Pregnancy wasn't in their plan. It's not how they pictured it. So they come to us to just know what their options are, and we are there to help them with our trained volunteers, otherwise known as our client advocates. They talk to them about their options, whether that is parenting, adoption, or just the facts of an abortion. We want them to know the pros and consequences to whatever decision they plan to make, and that they are loved through that choice. Another thing that we do in that pillar is we offer first trimester ultrasounds. That program is growing, and we do ultrasounds here at Franklin as well. If we can get that client to agree to an ultrasound to see their baby move, to see a head, to see a body, there's an 80% chance that they will change their mind to keep that baby or do an adoption instead of an abortion. So we are really excited about expanding that program to the Franklin area. Another pillar is our STI program. We have a clinic in Columbus that is now where our main hub is. They just do strictly STI testing, and they treat as well. Now, I am also an RN, and so we plan to hopefully move that pillar of our services to here at Franklin so that we can cover a wide range of services here locally. The third pillar is our education team. Our education team goes into schools and churches for free, and they talk about abstinence, the way that God intends. They educate our children, our teens, and they are there to love on teenagers, to answer any questions that they may have regarding that subject. And with the plan of that, after we hire a lot more people, we hope to bring that to Johnson County and the many school districts that we have here. The final pillar that we have is our Hearts Restored program. That is a counseling service that we offer. We have 4 main groups. We offer counseling for clients that have underwent an abortion, any kind of reproductive loss, such as miscarriage or stillbirth. We provide that service. And any codependent relationships or any kind of tendencies that somebody needs to get out of, we offer care there. And then also victims of sexual abuse. We have trained counselors to address those needs as well. Here in our county, Johnson County, the need is great. We are the 3rd highest abortion rate in southern Indiana, from Marion down. And so we have developed a new center here in Greenwood. So we have 2 in Johnson County, which is wonderful. And the Greenwood Center is just there to help meet the needs of an untouched community. So we're really excited about that program expanding. We just opened that up at the end of the summer. A popular and well-loved program that we do is our Earn While You Learn program, or otherwise known as the Baby Bucks. Our clients have the opportunity to learn programs, do educational videos, whether that is, during their pregnancy. They learn everything from prenatal care to, what to expect during labor. They have infant care classes that they learn all the way up to like 5 years of age. Fatherhood classes are there. Life skills such as balancing a checkbook. Who knows how to do that? Budgeting 101, or even how to buy a car. That's on there too. And then the plan that I love that's on there, the program, is we have religion courses that are there if they choose to accept that. Here in Franklin, we have seen an increase of teenage pregnancies. We have young girls coming in as young as 14, not knowing what to do. And so we are there to help them with this decision. And our Earn While You Learn program has just been an uplifting thing for them to grasp onto. They feel a sense of control by learning all these educational videos, feeling like they are on top of this, and then they are able to use what they learn to get baby buck points, and then they can purchase, with the baby buck points, so it's all free, then they can get all the supplies that they need, from diapers to wipes to baby food, all the way to clothing. So please remember to donate any gently used or new products to our centers, so we can give back to the community as well. Another great need that we desperately need is volunteers. We need people to partner with us day to day to love on our community, to love on our clients that walk through the door. Even if it's just a phone call that we receive, we need them. We need our volunteers to come in, and so we can show and share the love of Jesus with our clients. So if you have any interest at all in being a volunteer, please contact me. It can be one day a month. It can be for 2 hours, maybe just sorting through baby clothes and donations that we had. I will use you. And we will love on our clients in any aspect. And also, with all the new changes and additional programs coming to Johnson County and in Franklin, now is the time to continue and grow your financial support. But most importantly, please remember to wrap your prayers around our ministry. We could not do this without God directing us and leading us. So please uplift this ministry. Remember that we aim to show our clients that they matter, so in turn they can see that their unborn baby matters. And as we build these relationships with our client, they can then know that God loves them too. I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to come and speak on Clarity's behalf. And you guys have been just an excellent partner with us from the beginning, from the 1990s when we first started. And as a new director, I'm just excited to see all of your faces and to be in the community. And I just want to let you know that God is working. He's working, halfway across the world, but he's also working in your church. And in every encounter that we go to, even in the grocery store, God moves. We serve a great God. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Leah. It's exciting to hear. I love hearing that the main ministry is to love those who are hurting, who are in a crisis situation. And just loved hearing you talk about how much you want to love them. So that's great. So from Franklin, we're going to go out to Colorado and visit with Jeff and Amy Brake. Darren did a nice thing a year or two ago at the end of our missions Sunday morning, talking about the relationships that we have. And we have good relationships with and long-term relationships with so many of our missionaries. But Amy was another member of our church for a short time while she was at college. So Reed is a college student here at Franklin College. Amy was a college student at Franklin College and came here for several years during that time. So that's how we got to know her and Jeff, and we're just excited to hear about their ministry. Another neat thing about their ministry, the last two actually, is they are physically in Colorado, but their ministry spans the globe. Theirs and the Cunninghams who will follow them, their ministry span the globe because they prepare missionaries to go across the world to share the love of Jesus. So we're anxious to hear from the Brakes and how the things are going with the cat, and so looking forward to hearing from you guys.
We have some little people here who are going to start us off.
I'm Lucy. Okay, this is Lucy.
I'm 6 years old, and thank you for your
Partnership.
I am Gideon. I am 9 years old, and thank you for your partnership. This is Archie. She is 1 year old, and thank you for your partnership.
Thanks, bud. Oh, the little people. Y'all are always asking to see the kids, so we made sure that was a possibility today, but that's also a lot of chaos introduced to the scene. So we wanted to share a little bit with you about what's happening at Mission Training International and the work that we're doing all over the world. We're going to talk about 3 different programs this year, actually, because a lot has been changing in the ministry here since we spoke with you a year ago. So I'll start us off talking about our pre-field mission program, which is what we've been doing for the past 8 years here at Mission Training International. I'm actually going to share my screen and show you a world map of where folks are going from MTI. So let me get a quick blip there. You can just see that's just part of this year. But we have missionaries who are going to Native American reservations in the United States, who are working with First People groups in Canada as well, and then all over the world. As you can see, Southeast Asia is really a focus right now for missionaries going abroad. One of the things we have seen a lot is there's a trend right now in missions since 2020. A lot of folks weren't able to go on short-term trips or vision trips. So we've seen our numbers of pre-field missionaries leaving North America going down. But what we're seeing is an increase in missionaries who are coming back to the United States on furlough or coming back to stay because of the stress and trauma that they're experiencing in the world today. We are definitely seeing everyone who comes through our programs at MTI with higher levels of trauma, difficult life experience, and crises. So a certain prayer request, just like in Franklin and everywhere else in the world, missionaries are having a pretty hard time. Things are difficult out there. And so we do ask for your prayers as you think of us and as you think of missionaries out there in the world. Things are harder than they have been.
and I don't know if we initially said, this is Jeff, I'm Amy. And we do so appreciate you all. Just if you are newer to the church, we served as missionaries in Russia for about 7-8 years. And then before that, I was serving in Kenya as a single, and Jeff as a single in Russia. And so now we have the opportunity to train and equip, and then also debrief missionaries on their journeys. So it's a pretty amazing opportunity, pretty amazing vocation that we have. We feel honored every day to get to do what we do. So as Jeff mentioned, there are quite a few more missionaries we've seen over the past year returning from the field versus going. And this fall, Jeff and I had the opportunity to work at 2 DAR programs at MTI, and DAR stands for Debriefing and Renewal, and it's for missionaries who are coming back either for their home assignment or permanently. You know, they're kind of changing what they are doing. And Jeff's just showing you a picture here of places where missionaries had been serving that we have debriefed over the past 2 months, basically. So Jeff and I had been trained in this, but we'd never actually facilitated our own group in the past, as we've been focused mostly on pre-field missionaries. And so in September, Jeff and I had the opportunity to shadow another couple doing a debriefing, and then in the afternoons it was all single women, ironically. And so I was able to debrief 4 women every afternoon, and then a few weeks later, Jeff and I facilitated our own group as a couple. And it's quite a different feel than our pre-field training. There are lots of really excited people who are gung-ho for Jesus going overseas, and those that are returning have faced a lot more of the realities that we kind of try to prepare people for as they're going overseas. And so there's a lot of humility, sometimes a lot of brokenness, and really just people struggling to see where God is in the midst of all they've experienced. So it's a 6-day program. They're actually trialing some 10-day programs next year at MTI, because we feel like people just need more time to kind of start the process of processing. And we just tell them when they come to our debriefing program, this is only the very beginning of your journey. Don't expect that God is going to bring order and healing to all you've been through in 5 days, 6 days. But it's really just the beginning. And so our role as facilitators is to lead them through thinking about, transition, through loss. We talk about stress on the field, and the insane stressors that they experience are kind of amazing. We have an exercise where they list their daily hassles, and on those lists of daily hassles are things like, water, loss of water, loss of power, and this is things that they're daily having to deal with. Those aren't traumatic events that they've experienced, which they have those too, but that's a whole separate category. Mm-hmm. So we've really enjoyed working with these singles, couples, and families this fall. It was quite a different experience, a much heavier experience, and we found ourselves being pretty emotionally and spiritually exhausted and needing to just recuperate with the Lord after that. But some of the things that they processed, we had a family who was kicked out of country, husband was detained, and so there was some very real PTSD that he's going to have to do some more intensive counseling for. We had singles who were in their country of service, trapped in their apartments, were not allowed to leave for months at a time. And so you can imagine what that does to people's mental health. Just all kinds of more minor things than that as well, but lots of brokenness and lots of hurt. And this is just a safe space for them to kind of offer their experiences up to the Lord. And it's amazing to see what God does in such a short time, and meeting them and bringing, as I said, order, and also just most of all showing himself to them and saying, in all of these things, I've been with you. And to see the process of healing start. Not all of them are totally broken. Some of them have had some really positive experiences on the field, but just daily life overseas, I think there's a new level of adversity that missionaries face. And so it's a very sweet and safe place for them to be with people that get it and can kind of just walk alongside them and say, you're seen, you're known, and you're not alone, and the Lord loves you in all this. And it kind of prepares them to be able to make more of an informed decision about what their next steps are, what God's calling them to, whether it be to return to the field or to stay here in the U.S. So.
Two other things that we've had the opportunity to do this year that are sort of new or different is one of MTI's programs is called Get Ready. It's full geekdom coming your way, the International Congress on Language Learning. And we bring together linguists and language coaches from all over the world to get together and sort of mutually encourage one another to talk about how to help someone learn another language. Because of course, we're trying to exit our world to enter the world of someone else, and that involves language. And we got together 130 people from all over the world to do this. It's the first time we've had the opportunity in about 4 years, given the pandemic and its impact. So here's a quick picture of the countries people reported being from. We had a large number of people who said things like Middle East, Western Africa, Oceania, Central Europe, Eastern Europe, and things like this. So those countries aren't represented on this map. But we had 55 in-person participants, and then we had 75 people who joined us from online. One of my biggest joys is we've been able to offer a scholarship for folks who are nationals, who are helping missionaries on the field with language acquisition. And so we had a lot of people who weren't blue passport holders. They're not Americans who are able to join in to help expat missionaries in their country, their home country, learning the language. So really exciting to get those folks together. It's an interesting combination of training, think tank, sharing stories and things of that nature, but just to really encourage people who are deeply going after language and culture acquisition. I know it sounds super geeky, but geeks for Jesus making a difference for the kingdom as well. We also had a couple of really cool opportunities this year to speak with our local pregnancy center and then the regional pregnancy center conference, just to encourage folks who are really doing ministry here in the States.
We had someone in our small group from church actually who worked at the local pregnancy center, and she started describing, she said, I didn't have any idea what I was getting into. She had been an educator, a volunteer educator, going to schools and speaking about abstinence, but then she also is a nurse by education, so became a nurse there in their clinics, and started describing how she was feeling. She said, I sleep a lot, I'm having some symptoms. We realized she was really struggling with some kind of secondary trauma from all she was seeing at the clinic. And so Jeff and I and our friend Lisa kind of brainstormed and said, we'd love, to meet with your staff sometime and just kind of talk through, do some debriefing and give you the opportunity to process what you've experienced, and then talk about some self-care and some just soul care, time with God, that can allow you to be more resilient and to be in a place where you can continue to be in this challenging ministry. And so we did that last May, and then we were asked to speak to the Rocky Mountain Regional Conference, which is all the pregnancy centers in the Colorado area, in September. And we got the opportunity again to talk about what is debriefing, how can you share with one another, even as coworkers, but then also what does it look like to connect with the Lord on a regular basis so that he can be filling you and caring for your soul, and so you can continue to do this ministry. So it's kind of an unexpected avenue, but I think God really did kind of start our passion for that with having Sherry, and then Sherry Young and Kate Erickson came to Russia a few times to visit us and help with the pregnancy center there. And then, as you also may remember, our oldest is adopted, and his birth mom actually went to a pregnancy center in Michigan to get some care and encouragement. So amazing what God does and how he kind of brings things back around. But yeah, we feel really honored to get to do the small things we get to serve him. And we just thank you all for your partnership, your prayers, your longevity, and joining with us. Man, it's been a long time. We did get to have Darren Thompson visit us here in Colorado, so you can come join us in Colorado. We would love it. It's not as, as exotic as some places, but it's a pretty good place to be. And we have a basement that people can stay in. So thanks again. We so appreciate, as the kid said, your partnership, and means the world to us. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jeff and Amy. And it's great to be reminded that our faith is a communal faith. We all have our individual faith, but it's to be lived out in community. And it's great to hear that from the breaks. We're going to go to our next Jeff and Amy now, who are in Louisville this morning. But Amy hails from here in Franklin, so a lot of connections there. But Jeff and Amy, share what's going on with Team Expansion. We're anxious to hear what's going on there.
Yeah, thanks for having us this morning. We appreciate you all so much, your prayers and support, and just we value you guys so much. I'm Jeff. This is my wife Amy. We're in Louisville. We serve with Team Expansion. We are a missionary training and sending agency. We have a 61-acre complex here in Southeast Louisville that we recruit and train people and try to help sustain them on the field. We work in cooperation with MTI. They help us with some training also for our people that we send. One of the most exciting things that happened this last year was the training and sending of 21 college students. We sent those college students to do internships in either five or six different countries around the globe. And they spent 2 months serving, and then they came back and we were able to have them on campus and debrief them from their experience. And 13 of those said they were interested in doing long-term mission work after they completed their college degrees. So that was really exciting news. I also work as a field coordinator, which means basically I'm a coach for 3 different teams. I have 2 teams in the Middle East, and they've reported over 160 baptisms this year. And that is really, really exciting news to hear that. I also have just recently taken over as coach for a ministry that's in Tajikistan. We created a new partnership there with a local ministry. I was able to go over there and spend some time in Tajikistan earlier this year, and they're doing great work with reaching out to local Tajiks, as well as reaching out to a lot of the Afghan refugees that are coming across the border there. So it was really cool to be able to be there and document some of that. I do some photography and video work for Team Expansion also, and just document some of the work that's being done with the Afghans and with the locals. We also trained them while we were there on doing how to do outreach, how to plant simple small groups, disciple making groups. And anyway, that was a great joy to be a part of that and to continue to work with them and help coach them. They've since we left a few months ago, they've seen, I think, over 20 groups multiply with what we would call simple house churches or Bible study groups there. Also, I spent some time in Laos just recently. We have a missionary over there, so I went over to work with him and help him in the development of some of his projects. He does agriculture work as a base to reach out into communities and villages, and they're really seeing people come to Christ through this agricultural program. So it was great to be able to spend some time with him over there. And again, I appreciate you guys so much supporting us and praying for us, because I wouldn't be able to do these trips and engage in these ministries around the world without you guys. And with that, I'm going to let Amy tell you a little bit about her ministry and what she's been up to.
Great to be with you all this morning. I'm still here at home, homeschooling our youngest, who's now 14 and a freshman in high school. In addition to that, since about 7 months or so after we moved to Louisville, I've been volunteering at a local community center called Hope Place. So if you ever read our newsletter, you'll see Hope Place mentioned. And recently, I've kind of taken a step up and made a more official commitment with Team Expansion. and joined a team here in Louisville that exists primarily to reach the international community here. So Louisville is very diverse city, especially for the size of city that it is. And even in the last year, has welcomed hundreds of Afghan refugees. So the area of Louisville that we live in is very diverse. We live in the South End, and within, I don't know, a few blocks of where we live and Hope Place, there are close to 100 different languages spoken. So at Hope Place, I am there 4 afternoons a week in the after school program, which is kindergarten through 5th grade. And they also offer dance classes for that age group, plus middle school and high school. And it's a local nonprofit, so it is, all of these things are offered completely free to the kids in the community. Hope Place is a trauma-informed community center. So that means all the staff and volunteers are trained in trauma-informed care, because many of the kids have come from extremely difficult situations, from crisis situations in war-torn countries, as well as just the Americans who live around us. Some of them just come from really traumatic situations. So at the moment, I think there are close to 15 countries represented in the Kids at Hope Place, from Congo, from Rwanda, Mexico, Cuba, Malaysia, Somalia, Haiti, America, and several other countries. And one of the really cool things is, a couple of years ago, so this Hope Place is in a church building. And a couple of years ago, we got to be part of actually planting a church at that building. So because of the relationship that Hope Place has built with the families in the community, many of the kids who come to the after school program, who come from Muslim families or Buddhist or Hindu families, or just non-believing families, allow their children to come to church on Sundays because it's at Hope Place. And they've built that trust and relationship with the families. So, and here in just a little while, we'll be heading over there for an outreach event that we're doing. We call it Trek or Treat, because it's actually inside the building and tables are set up. And so we're prepared to welcome approximately 500 kids to that. So that's something that you could pray for today. But I just want to say again, as Jeff said in the beginning, we are so thankful for the partnership that we continue to have with Franklin Community Church. So thankful for your support and for your prayers, and thankful to get to be here with you all today.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to hear about your ministry in all over the world, and there in your home too. That's special. Well, thanks to all the missionaries that shared with us. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed with everything we've heard this morning, and both the blessings in ministry that our missionaries receive, and the challenges, some of which are changing, before our eyes. In India, it's harder to share the gospel. I mean, we heard that they're not supposed to. So, and in Haiti, the government's almost completely collapsed. So there are incredible challenges that they're facing, but it's great to hear that the Lord moves as well. So, a couple of things as we close here with the service part of our day. The way that we support missions here at Franklin Community Church is we have a completely separate fund from our general fund. So you're giving, if it's not marked as you put it in the slot or as you give online, it goes into our general fund. So that supports the building, our pastors, those kind of things. But you need to mark your giving as missions. And the way we do that is we ask you to develop a faith promise. So on the tables in the center there are faith promise cards. If you've been here before, you know what they are. We just ask you to prayerfully consider where the Lord would have you give in the coming year, how much you would have him, you believe he would lead you to give in the coming year towards missions through Franklin Community Church. And we encourage you also to have your own missionaries that you support, but one of the things I love is that every dollar that you give to the missions fund here at Franklin Community Church is spread across all of these missionaries. We've talked about how globally, geographically they're spread, and about all the different kind of ministries they have. We have church plantings, we have unwed mothers, we have the indigent that we serve, we have language that we train people in. So that dollar that you give to the missions fund here at Franklin Community Church goes to all of those things, and I think that's just a wonderful way to invest in ministry and in missions. So I would encourage you to do that. So prayerfully consider how you're going to complete this, and there are several different levels here that we have. One thing that you will notice that is not on the faith promise card, there's no place for your name. We don't really want to know your name. We want to know that you're participating. We want to know that you're involved in missions, but we're going to have to find that out some other way. We're not going to find out through your money. So we would ask you just to pray about what amount you think goes on here so that we as a missions plan group can effectively plan for the coming year, so that we can effectively support these folks that we heard from this morning in their ministries. So if you can do that today, that'd be great. If you can do it, if you want to take a week or so and pray about that, give us a week or so. We'll give you a week or two to return that, and then the missions plan group will meet either later this year or early next year to determine if we can maybe add some people to this. Maybe we can make it like a 2.5-hour service on missions morning, so that it takes that long to get through all the missionaries that we support. Or maybe we can support these guys better. So we'd ask you to prayerfully consider that. I want to thank, as we finish up here, I thanked the missions plan group earlier, but I want to thank Dwayne and Mike for the music earlier today. It's always beautiful and we love it. So thank you very much. And I want to thank Nathan especially, and Jeff for the sound and technology. It went off great. Nathan, thank you very much. So thanks for that. So you may have noticed there's some activity over in this part of the room. For those of you that, if you're still hanging with us online, you are really missing out because the smells are just wonderful here today. But we have lunch. We want you to stay and share. Some or a couple of our missionaries that are here are going to be able to stay, and you can share with them and get to know them better. So those folks that joined us online, you have a standing invitation. If you're ever here, we want to see you. It took a long time for me to get to this point, and I'm really proud of myself for getting to this point. So we want to see you. We'd love to see you here. So come and join us. So with that, let's close with a word of prayer, and then we'll have a few minutes, and then we'll bless the food, and we'll get going with that. So let's pray. Father, you are a good God, and we love you, and we thank you that you have given us this opportunity to have relationships with these folks and to support these men and women who serve your world, your people. Thanks, Lord, that you've given us the wherewithal, you've given us the funds, you provide for us, Lord. We are richly provided for, and we live in a country where we can share you, and we have so many opportunities, and you've given us the opportunity, though, to share and support and be partners with those who are in places where they can't do that. We heard about Nigeria, we heard about India, we heard about Haiti, where it's illegal or it's hard to share the gospel, Lord. Thanks that we can be a part of that. Thanks that your word is powerful enough that it can overcome governments or lack thereof. It can overcome any challenges that are put in its way, Lord. Thanks that your word is going to go out and it's going to be spread, and your word will continue to bear fruit. And thanks for helping us, allowing us to be a part of that. We pray for all our missionaries. We pray that you would encourage them. We pray that you would provide for them. We pray that you would just knock down barriers in their ministry, and that they would be really blessed by the things going on in their worlds, and pray that, again, your word would be strong and just blanket the earth, Lord. Thanks again for our time. Thanks for this food. Thanks for the hands that have prepared it. Thanks for the people that have volunteered to help pull all that together. Lord, you're a great God, and we love you. Thanks for allowing us to be part of this fellowship. In Jesus' name, amen.